All right, everyone, welcome to the Game Changer Show. This week, I want to talk about a story that someone sent me the other day, and after I tell the story, I will talk about the context in which it was sent to me, which I find pretty interesting. So the story goes that a farmer had a beloved horse that ran away one day. His neighbors said, "What terrible luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not. We'll see." A few days later, the horse returned, bringing with it 3 wild horses. The neighbors exclaimed, "What a great fortune!" The farmer said, "Maybe so, maybe not. We'll see." Later, the farmer's son tried to ride one of the wild horses, was thrown off, and broke his leg. The neighbors cried, "How awful!" The farmer said, "Maybe so, maybe not. We'll see." Soon after, soldiers came to the village to draft all the able bodied young men for war. Because of his broken leg, the farmer's son was spared. The neighbors said, "What a blessing." And the farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not. We'll see." So, the context in which the story was sent to me is I was talking with someone the other day about how can I increase my level of flexibility? Because I've noticed that over the past few months, the more I'm able to increase my level of flexibility of how I respond to a different situation, the easier it has been to kind of get traction in things. And when I say flexibility, one of the things that comes up is like flexibility in meetings, right? If you go back to that story, it's like several points throughout the story, people were saying, well, this was a good thing, this was a bad thing. And ultimately, when things happen, right, I realized that something might happen that might seem negative, but ultimately we get to decide what the meaning of that things is. And as one of my coaches said one time to me, which I thought was a great quote, he said, "Humans are terrible at assigning meanings, so you might as well pick the ones that help you." And I think that in a real estate market that's challenging, or I don't know that much about other businesses right now, but in a business environment that can be challenging, it can be really easy to assign bad meanings to things, saying something happens, that's bad, right? Oh, we had a buyer back out of a deal. That's terrible. We need to start all over again. Or, um, this deal fell through because of this reason. Or now it's taking me twice as much money to get a qualified lead. But I think one thing that we've done well throughout these past few months is instead of looking at things like, okay, that's bad, we're just looking at like, okay, it happened. What can we learn from it? And I think this is the time when, all the things that we used to kind of get away with when the market was really good, when anything would sell, where you'd put up a house and you'd be under contract within a couple days, or, you had 5 offers coming in from different buyers. So you could pick and choose all your terms, and you could, you know, really, you didn't have to be the best operator in order to succeed, has changed now, right? I think that as the market has shifted, and as other things have shifted, you need to be a better operator to succeed. And I think that over the past few months, instead of when these things happen, right, when a buyer backs out of a deal, when we've had something on the market and we're the best price thing on the market, but we've only, you know, we don't have any offers and we've been on the market for 3 weeks, and we're like, well, it doesn't make sense, right? It's really easy for people to go and say, well, the market sucks, like everything's going to be hard. But I think what we've done really well as a leadership team is we said, okay, well, this has happened. What can we learn from it? One of the things that we learned, for example, is I actually feel like a few months ago we were over renovating properties. We do a lot of mobile homes, price point anywhere between, call it 220 and 300. And what we started to realize is, and we have one of these currently on the market, like even though things in this area have sold for 320, 340, if you look at what's on the market now, nothing is selling over 300. We're, I think, priced at 289 on that property. And looking back, I was like, man, like if we had looked at that renovation differently, and this is the lesson learned, right? Which we, instead of saying, man, like, oh, poor us, right? Obviously, we're not happy that that property is sitting on the market, but we're like, okay, if we had done that renovation differently, maybe cut some costs in some like cosmetic areas, still do all the things that need to be done, but not do all the things that like are the nice to haves. We could have put that property on the market for 270 instead of pricing it initially above 300, right? So that's like a lesson we learned. Like we started in some of our flips that we're doing, especially on like the lower end stuff, putting in things like laminate counters and, maybe not putting in all new cabinets if the ones there are fine, right? In that property there, we could have probably easily shaved $15,000 off that renovation budget because we changed all the cabinets, even though they were probably in pretty decent shape. So that's just one example. I mean, I think we're learning a lot of lessons in this time. Um, but for us, it's really helped. And for me, it's really helped to look at every single thing that we might think like goes wrong as okay, well, just what can we learn from it so that it doesn't happen again? And I think when the market will turn, which ultimately it will, the real estate market doesn't stay down forever, is the people who have stayed in the game and said, okay, like, how can we get better every single day? Like, those people are going to see huge results when the market changes. I mean, we're seeing improvements in our results now, and I don't think the market has changed yet. We're just fixed a lot of things that were suboptimal previously. So it kind of reminds me of another quote that someone told me one time, which is there's no failure, only feedback. And we're getting a massive amount of feedback right now in all the different areas. But if we take that and convert those things into like, okay, what can we do better and what are the most important things that change? I think it's going to set us up in an amazing position as things shift in the market. So that's kind of my message for today. Um, you know, and really reminding myself that as I go through things of having the flexibility in assigning meanings, right? That I get to decide what something means. And, sometimes I catch myself going down the rabbit hole of assigning a negative meaning to something. And if I step back and maybe take a little bit of a break and look at it in a bigger picture, it's usually almost never as big of a deal as it is in the moment. And usually I can take that learning and end up improving from it or doing something better in the business or doing something better personally because I decided to learn a lesson from it instead of just thinking it was something bad that happened. So I hope this message was helpful for everyone as times have, been challenging over the last few months. This is something that's really helped me and hope to hear you guys join in future episodes.